Okay, we have about 30 people who've already joined in and people, I guess, joining in as we speak. So I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar to also honor those who have actually come up on time. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. My name is Nobunita Sen-Beckers, and I work for the Donor Committee for Enterprise Development, focused mainly on the results measurement work. Thank you for joining us today for this exciting webinar where we have Swisscontact Cambodia, who will be sharing their experience on how they have digitized their results measurement system. If you've worked in results measurement, you know that sometimes it can get a bit overwhelming to track different documents, ensuring that there's a traceable link between what you've reported on and what sort of evidence you have that backs that data up. And Swisscontact today will share their experience on demonstrating a system which they call e-MON, which has helped them to streamline this results measurement system and sort of track their data systematically. So let me go ahead and introduce our speakers for today. Rajiv, if you can go on to the next slide, thank you. First, let me also introduce my colleague, Ella Duffy. She is the assistant coordinator of the DCED and has also helped organize all the logistics for this webinar. If you have any issues in viewing the presentation or connecting, please email or use the chat function to message Ella, and hopefully we can sort it out. From Swisscontact side, we have Rajiv, Pradhan, and Erica speaking. Rajiv is the country director in Cambodia and also the project manager in the Innovation for Sustainable Agriculture project, which is basically the project in Cambodia which has tried this e-MON system, and that's where it was established. Rajiv has extensive experience in developing market systems development program, and he has been in a management function in very well-known programs such as the Catalyst program in Bangladesh, Prisma in Indonesia. And Erica is the deputy project manager for this ESA project, and she has really led the development of this e-MON system, so she can explain all the technical details to us in this webinar. We also have Manuela and Wendy joining this webinar, and they may support us if there's any questions that's raised. I'm going to also now just explain the logistics for this webinar. Rajiv, if you can please move on to the next page. So you are automatically off camera and muted through this webinar. You can only chat with the organizers. So if you have, as I said, if you have any technical questions, if you have any issues connecting, then please use the chat box and message Ella, and she can hopefully help you sort that out. Questions are very welcome, but please use the Q&A box to pose those questions, and we will try to answer them. Our panelists especially will try to answer them as we go through the webinar. I know a lot of you have also sent in a lot of questions while registering, and we've picked a few of them, and we'll try to also answer that after the end of the presentation. So now, without speaking further, I'm going to hand it over to Rajiv. Hi, Rajiv.
Hi, thanks, Navneeta. Thanks a lot. Welcome everyone we're in Cambodia. It's great to see a lot of you interested in the system. It's just an experience, so we just want to go through our experience. Today we'll be talking a bit on the introduction of the e-MON system. Then Erica, joining me, will be going through the demonstration, the live demonstration, what the system looks like. In the end, I will be touching a bit on the learning and driving and managing the system. And then in the end, Navneeta will also then lead the Q&A. And as Navneeta said, some of the questions that have come in, we've got the list and we'll try to address them in the presentation itself. Going into e-MON, what e-MON is, and a little bit into the introduction of e-MON. Basically, it was developed not only in ISA, in the Innovation System of Agriculture, but actually it's a predecessor program called the Mekong Inclusive Growth and Innovation Program, that ran from 2017 to 2022 in Cambodia. And this was essentially a program of the SDC, Swiss Development Corporation, along with its institutional partnership, under the institutional partnership with Swisscontact. And then there are the other donors that you see the logo of the other private sector and foundations that are supporting the program. And essentially, the project follows, I think most of us that are in the room probably would, whether it's market systems development, inclusive systems development, that's a term we use in Swisscontact. inclusive markets, the different terms, M4P, as it was called some time back. But then the key is it also then has we've looked at the DCED results measurement standards that's inbuilt into the e-MON system. Why we designed the e-MON system was really to tackle the monitoring and results measurement challenges. And within in our system, we were using, as you see, Excel sheets. All of you may be using different things, but to look at the version control of the sheets as results come in, as things change, we might have different sheets, and then they're in different places, probably in the folder. So trying to find the latest version, that was one problem we wanted to tackle. It's time consuming to find that, and sometimes even compiling, aggregating results. You could have different results. People, someone would say, I forgot this data. So all that we thought we would get into one place where we could look at the up-to-date intervention at any time, results at any time. They are recorded consistently as interventions roll out, and as you do the activities, you can review the progress and make changes immediately, and automatically that's aggregated. And the key is it's also the same result is accessible and by all members of the project. So it's not just the management, but all the implementation team members see the same result. And that, for us, one of the points we will make, it has to be aligned in Swisscontact, we call the inclusive system development, MVP, IAM. Essentially, for us, we use the intervention plans, and then I also put the intervention steering document, but essentially, quite a few of you might not use Excel sheets or intervention steering documents. In any case, these are the 5 elements, probably all of you have. You have the intervention detail, the model. Some of you might not have the model, but then looking at the changes, it'd be good to have the business model, the result chain. I'm pretty sure all of us have. Then that translates into the measurement framework, measurement plan and results. And within Swisscontact, we also use, for systemic change, we use a tool called AER. I don't know if you've heard, I'm pretty sure some of you know about it, but I won't go into the tool, but this is a framework that we use in Swisscontact. And that is, again, another part that's also part of the e-MON. These are the 5 ingredients that we use in the e-MON, in the intervention plan. And this, what basically we've done is these are 5 pieces of documents, which is right now an Excel sheet, and then we digitize that in something called a program called a Power App. Erica will later go into the demonstration of the Power App for you. So it's nothing but just the digitization of the 5 pieces of document, and then where data can be entered on a regular basis. Just as a starting point, so that we're clear what e-MON is, it's really a monitoring tool. It's a staging and monitoring tool that streamlines results entry, review, aggregation, and helps to visualize. It's used by the project staff and not by anyone else. So it's essentially an internal tool that we use while implementation, and it's for the project management or management and the donor to monitor the real-time progress of the key indicators, the key performance indicators on an interactive dashboard. Again, Erica will go into demonstration. Well, and some of the questions that have come, and so we'd like to address here is what it is not. It's not a database that records individual farmer or learner information. You could go into other systems for that. It could be integrated here, but this database does not, e-MON does not do that. It's not a data collection tool, for example, Google Toolbox or others that you have. So that is used to conduct surveys. And this is not connected to the financial forecasting system. However, I know Prisma, some of you I think from Prisma is attending this, has developed an extensive, really powerful system which also connects the financial forecasting and reporting. But it is possible, but that again may cost more. e-MON has 2 parts. You will see again in the demonstration. One is the intervention tablet. This is based on the Power App program, which will you can enter and collect the data of interventions. And then the KPIs, as you choose in a project, whatever KPIs you choose, can be then visualized in something called a Power BI. I think a lot of us are probably more familiar with Power BI because we see this extensively used. However, Power App may be less. So what we've done is used the Power App and the Power BI and brought them together into the e-MON system. what we do is we integrate the e-MON into the project management, what we've done in MIGIT and ISA now. In the design, basically, all interventions are registered on the e-MON system with the results chain, the measurement plan, and when the implementation starts. We record as we perform the activities, we record all the data, all the observations with evidence files. Again, this is something I think that's been really useful for us, that we do not need to keep on looking for evidence files. I know sometimes when you do the DCED audit, we spend time ensuring the evidence files are properly stored in proper places, so the auditors also, it's easy for the auditors to check. Here, it's recorded real time. Whenever it happens, I'll show you in a bit how it's recorded, so and Erica can show you live as well. This also has helped us review in the review, discussing intervention progress and course correction. So this is integrated. So like when you follow a DCED system, you have your either quarterly or semester-wise review meetings. And that's where we really look at the e-MON system. Within Swisscontact, we call it the deep dive, at least in Cambodia. And this, the e-MON system helps us to review the intervention progress and then course correct as necessary. And finally, I talked about the visualization. We can extract figures as per the KPIs, whatever we want to see, and report it to the donors or anyone that's interested. We also have the e-MON user manual we've presented. Erica here has worked on with the team, and it's also in French. So this was in Benin. We also went into Benin and worked with our project in Benin and introduced the e-MON system. That's when we got to translate in French, and also with the project in Latin America. And that's how it got translated into Spanish as well. The other part of the integration is with documentation. Now, we use SharePoint extensively here within the Cambodia team, and within Swisscontact, we're also using SharePoint. Here, essentially, we have, I think most of the organizations do have the 365 license. And the SharePoint, we record all the interventions in the SharePoint. And I just took out the result chain part of it. So if you look at IA 3.2 is an intervention, name of the intervention. And within that, you have implementation result chain. So these are all your result chain boxes, and these are all on SharePoint. Now, inside that, and if I look at the visioning workshop as a results chain box number 5, what we have in there is the activities and the evidence files. So the project teams, intervention teams, upload whatever activities they do, anything related to the activities in this folder, and all the evidence, observation, and the results, any evidence, for example, if there's a training, the participants list or anything, or maybe the outcome also, they would then upload, whether it's a PDF, even videos, anything that's needed on the e-MON evidence file, which is then recorded. And Erica will show you a bit. It's on the overall e-MON system. You do not need to go into SharePoint, but directly from the e-MON system, you could access that. With that, now, Erica will go into a little bit on the e-MON, actually the e-MON development, and also will walk you through the actual, how you see it live. So Erica, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv. So yeah, so now I will talk about how e-MON is developed. More focused first on the e-MON structure. So the e-MON is not, as mentioned earlier already, like it's not built from scratch with a complex coding system, but we build it by utilizing different applications of Microsoft that are free or low cost for the Office 365 users. So first, the backend is built on the SQL database, and it is hosted on Azure, which is a Microsoft cloud database service. And then the intervention tablet is built on another application called Power App, which is like designed for anyone to. It is originally designed from Microsoft for the purpose for anyone to build a low code app. So the last one is the real-time report, which is built on Power BI, and I think it's a more commonly known data analysis and visualization tool. So how do they connect and work as a system? So first, all the data is stored in the cloud center, data center, which is Swisscontact has the head office has a corporate account. So it's, to us, it's quite secure based on our experience. And then the data that is entered through Power Apps, and then it will be passed to the database, or pull the data from the database to show when we are using the app. And then on the other side, like Power BI then extract from the database to display the result on the dashboard. So a critical factor for e-MON to work in this case is actually a very stable internet. In our case here in Cambodia, that has been not a problem, but I know in some countries or contexts it might be a little bit more challenging. So I think that's a little bit the limitation we see. But in terms of like what was the development process? So first we do it is the conceptualize and development of the system, and it took us about 6 months in the process. So first we need to kind of start with the concept, like what is the need of the management, who will use, and what is the technology requirement for the system. And then the details then is then elaborated into the TOR, and we use it to identify and contract the IT consultant who are also proposing the suitable software, and which is the one that I just talked about was then proposed. So after that, then the system is being developed and also tested. And at the same time, there is also training for the administrator, which are the MRN team, to be able to do some kind of start to build the capacity of the team to be able to manage or make some small additions or changes. So yeah, I know a lot of people were interested in the cost. So in this stage, the development, the establishment cost is purely basically for the service provider, and it costs us around $3,000. So and then for our MRN human resources, because it's already built into the project, so we didn't count it separately here. So then the next stage is to roll out, deploy the system, and then do the training. So it took us about 4 months in the process. Like Rajiv mentioned, we developed a user manual to provide the step-by-step instruction for the team. And then we also conducted the whole e-MON training to the whole project team, and it's done by the MRN team, the result measurement team. So then after that, it's to support the project team to enter the intervention data, and then do the troubleshooting by ourselves or the IT consultant. And then, so after then the team start to using it, and then we just keep improve and adjust the functions based on the feedback. The other very important milestone is also to improve the real-time report, because in the beginning we don't have a real data, like we don't have result data when we set up when the project just started. So we can only build like very simple dashboard, but after we have the result data, we can further develop more analysis and graphs based on that. So in this stage, we can kind of keep having the tech support from the IT consultant, and it costs for around 5,000 to 1,000 per year. And it varies, because it really depends on how much capacity we have in our project and how much more additional function that we want or we want to adjust and so on. So that's the main cost. And there are some additional other costs that also incurs. Well, one is the cost for the Power BI Pro license, and that's $3 per month per person. That's for the nonprofit rate. So around like a few people in the project that could get the license, because then we will be able to publish the report and make more elaborated change. but you don't need that license in order to see the report. So that's, yeah, that was okay. And then the other cost is the cost for the cloud data center. And it costs about $72 per year. But it really also depends on the size of the database. If it's much bigger, it will cost more. And it is actually something we've been charged by our head corporate, like kind of our head office for the database space and their time to actually manage that database for us. So this is the how like the e-MON development process. So now I will show you do a demonstration about the system. So start with, yeah, so right now you will see this is the intervention tablet that we mentioned, and which is built on the Power Apps. So in this landing page, you can see that all these entries are the interventions that we have entered, registered into the system. And then each of the intervention will have these 5 sections that we also mentioned earlier. So yeah, if we want to add intervention, then we could like add it and then fill in the information that is needed. So taking an example to look at first with the intervention details. So basic intervention detail it basically has some basic information about the intervention, about the key dates, who are the partners, what's the budget, and then we can also insert a link to where the intervention plan is stored in online, whether it's SharePoint or other database that the project use. So if we want to, the intervention information has been updated, then we can just edit it in and save, and then it's been updated immediately. So the next part is business model. So a picture that was of the business model was uploaded, and then when we do the review and so on, it's very easy for us to take it and look at it and discuss. And then it also links to the actual business model file. I click on that linking. So yeah, so if there are changes that we want to make for the business model, then we can then work on the actual file and then save it, so it kind of links to the same file. And then by editing here, we can update the information. We can, if we save into a new version, we can update the URL, and we can also upload a new photo of the business model. So the next one is result chain, and it basically functions the same way as the business model. So we can also click on it, and then actually then it takes us to the original file which we build the result chain. In our case, we build it on the Excel file. So then and then we can make changes as needed while we do the review or in any case. Yeah, so the next one is measurement plan, and that's the key. Actually, I think the most important element of this of e-MON. So in this table, you can see that you can see that all this it's like an Excel. So you can see all the indicators, and then how is it linked to the KPI? What's the total projection? What's the result achieved? And how it's been measured. So as you can see on the result chain level, the boxes, so it is built based on the result chain. So in any case that we want to edit the measurement of each of them, then we can just edit and then save it directly. We can also add new measures as the way we did before, same as the same way. Yeah, so after the result data is collected, for example, after the result data is collected, we can record them in the review view result here. So this table is also, it shows like different result entries because the activities or it might happen at different times. So when we can already see those ones happened, and then we can even link to the evidence file that is stored on the SharePoint. As an example, so this is the share kind of evidence file that's linked to this result. And also just to show you what Rajiv was mentioned about the file, the folder structure that we organize as per intervention, and then the result is the activities has the working files, and then evidence file is stored and linked to e-MON. So if we want to add a new result, then we just click on adding, and then put the date and then the numbers and evidence file and so on. So yes, so the last part is the systemic change. And so this is pretty straightforward, that we have on the AER framework, like we have put like, okay, what we expected to happen to see the behavior change of the partners and system actors. And then during the implementation, then the team will then record their observation to each of the relevant boxes. And then because it has like, it can be like a journal. So like I observed this, so I put the date and then what I observed. Because our implementation just started, so right now we don't have a real observation right now. So so this is the part for the Power App. Actually, there's one more item I want to talk about. So so there is an admin page, and this is only accessible by the result measurement team. So it is basically a number of functions that set up the framework for e-MON system, and that will be the options for the drop-down list, or for to use as a filter for analysis on the real-time report. So for example, the intervention area, then we set up as the way as per our intervention area, and it's very flexible to add anything new or to edit the current intervention areas that we have. So it's the same for all of these functions, and I will not go further because of time. The next one is that. Okay, so so this is the real-time report, which is built on Power BI, and so it has in this main page that we have an overview of the project, on the key performance indicator, a number of the interventions. It can with the gender disaggregated numbers and so on. So on the side is the filter, and because the whole report is interactive, it's like quite dynamic. So by filter, we can set, for example, we can filter, I just want to see the result for the agriculture sectors, and then the number changed accordingly. I can also see by intervention areas, if I want to see a particular intervention area. It can be, I just want to see result between maybe 2018 to 2019. Then I can see the number that's also changed accordingly. So basically the report is built based on the indicators of the project, and it can be, it's basically depends on what the project needs. So, and it can be different analysis and different graphs. For example, we also do analysis on the result versus target over the years for our access outreach. And then based on this graph, then we can see, okay, what is the result and against projection in 2019 or 2018, different years. The table shows the total result and the female result numbers. What I find useful is, okay, also we can drill down to see by the quarter, and it's quite useful for MRN, I think MRN team to do some quality check and reporting. So just a few other graphs from our project that we have for the tourism sector. We also analyze on the benefit outreach, which are the number of people increase income. Also analysis on, these are all from our key indicators. So we also look at the partner leverage. So how much the partner invests in their interventions, and we can see the target, total project level target, as well as the how much is net, as well as new business development, new business for partners and ISPs. So yeah, so I think this is all the demonstration. No, that's yeah. So I will pass back to Rajiv for to talk about the learnings on.
Thanks, Erica. Thanks. I'm pretty sure overview is not too fast for you, but basically, if you're interested, of course, we can talk more. But it has definitely been a system that is, at least from a project management perspective, the time that I have to spend on monitoring, the system has really immensely helped, and not just asking different people for different results. Now, some of the learning on driving and managing this system. So I'll just briefly touch on that. I think I've explained this. The idea was we wanted to do away with the Excel sheets when things changed. So that led us to design the e-MON. I think again I've mentioned that to monitor one dashboard, and Eric already mentioned we were looking for a very small project, so we were looking at a very cost-effective solution, and then trying to look at off-the-shelf product. And this was fortunate in Cambodia. I mean, we did come across a company knowing Power Apps. I mean, that's what you need to know for this, and then integrating that in Power BI. Swisscontact has the Office 365 suite, so it was all good, and we could use the freeware of the 365 to design this cost-effective solution. Erica mentioned $3,000 for that, versus right now we're developing a database, another product within the project that we're trying to develop, which we're getting quotes as high as 50,000. So trying to collect data. That's more on the data collection, but I guess it goes with if you're looking for a customized solution for your project, it could go as high. I'm pretty sure there are other projects which are probably spending even more money, just depending on, you can customize it, probably get better solutions. But I think with Power Apps and Power BI, it's at least looking at the monitoring the results based on the DCED standard, I think it's quite enough. That's our experience. And the beauty was that within Power Apps, we could customize to integrate with what we were using the intervention staging document, but essentially it's the intervention plan and whatever elements that you could have with that. For us, we explained the 5 elements. So that led us to design the e-MON system. How it has helped the project, I mean, repeating a few things again, intervention plan information. Every time, as a manager, anyone wants to look, we really look at the e-MON system and then open things from there. It has really helped in what we call deep dive meetings. That's a quarterly meeting. We try to do it quarterly, so it goes semester. But in the review meetings, basically looking at the target, looking at the AER framework, the system change framework, looking at the KPIs, which are the most important part of it. So then that helps us. So the results is drawn from the e-MON system, which is then we use another part of OneNote, again, within the 365 suite. We use the OneNote to start looking at the review meetings. So this and any changes we in those meetings, we do it directly on the e-MON system as well. Again, I think I'm just repeating, no need to look for evidence files. That has been another big help for us because it's all linked. Targets versus result, it's visible, and whenever we're doing reports, it's very easy then just to, we take screenshots from the e-MON system and plug it in our report. And the beauty is there have been instances where we found out there are some numbers didn't make sense, so outlier numbers, and then we could trace that back quite easily instead of having to dig through a lot of files or Excel files or Word documents to find out where the problem comes. And then the other part is also this makes, because of the AAF framework being part of the e-MON system, it also helps us to have a continuous discussion on the systemic change, because at the end of the day, we're trying to, that's what we're essentially trying to work towards. The learning on driving the system as our experience has been, it has to be driven by the project management and not the MRM team. I mean, a lot of you, if you're on the MRM, you might be controversial. I'm willing to have a discussion, but essentially the project manager, the MRM team is there to support the implementation team on the system, but it must be the project manager, team leader, and that must be driven by the team leader, project manager, but then the implementation team really uses it. Aligns best our experience. We've used it when it's not aligned on the systemic change level using the, in Swisscontact again, the ISD framework. That's where it's aligned based. We've used it for one other project. I can explain a little bit where the systemic change is not, recorded, but it can be still used to monitor the results. And we're using for one project, we're still doing that. But it's best used when you're using the M4P or the market systems development approach. It does make it simple for implementation team at all levels, as I said, because it's, the system, everything is there. You can look at any intervention. They can, dig into any other intervention. So you don't need to talk to other intervention teams to find out what's happening, or at least where the other intervention are heading towards, either from the Power App or BI. Our experience when rolled out is really time consuming. It took us, I think, Erica and some of the MRM team that was there, I think we had to convince even our implementation team, it took 1.5 years, nearly 2 years to convince them to really say, okay, why do we need the system? So for you were thinking about using the system, just that patience will be needed. But I think once people are used to it, and now we get new team members, then automatically the team members that have been using it, we talk to them. It's quite then user-friendly, they adapt to it quickly. But in the beginning, and there were a lot of kinks in the system, so that also took a lot of time for us. The key is, again, this is not just used as a monitoring results management tool, but as a management tool overall, as we've shown using the documentation system, integrating in the documentation system, integrating in the management meeting. So everywhere we do use that. So I would say we use it more as a management tool rather than just a results management tool. And the key is, I think for us, was quite helpful. This helps us to be integrated to the strategy document, particularly if you look at sector strategies, or in the sector strategy, we might have started with some the theory of change, and within the theory of change, you start with the intervention theory of change, and that is visible throughout, because a lot of times we have the sector strategy document, and then we implement, things change, but then we don't go back to the sector strategy document, and then the problems are different. We look at it differently. So the e-MON system with the deep dive or review meetings has helped us to continuously make the sector strategy document kind of live, if you will. So this, we feel, is completely synced into the strategic, and that's why I say a management tool. So that is some of the learnings. I'm sure there are more, but I just thought to present that. I'm nearly on my time, nearly done with my time now. Just go a few more slides. To build a system, it's important to build the internal capacity on the software of the team. Now, the coding, I think there was a few questions on the coding. Basically, you do need, when you want to start with the system, you do need probably IT people who know Power App to build the system. But then internally in the team, you could have the simple coding skills could be learned by the MRN team or someone little IT savvy person. And it's quite interesting. I know Indonesia, I mean, I know someone when I was working in Prisma, for example, there's a person called Daniel Nugra. I think quite a few of you might know. He was a geek on Power BI and he was learning Power BI. He mastered it in 3 days. So I'm sure, I mean, a lot of, who are IT savvy will learn this quickly. But for the start, maybe it's good to start with the IT firm, but then internally you could have someone just to make the simple changes to understand the coding skills. And Erica can talk about what the specific technical coding language is for that. Again, as I said, it needs to be synced with the appropriate filing structure, primarily for the evidence file and with the other intervention parts. So that's also to manage the system. That's what we think it must be linked. The quality assurance, the MRM team really for us has been the quality assurance of the data entry, not to look at, question the result sheet so much. That is on the implementation team, but it's really the MRM team looking at the data and ensuring the quality and, ensuring that data that comes out is the correct data or the data that is clean data. So the quality assurance has been a big part of the MRM team. We're very small. We have one person, CD sitting here, and maybe quarter of Erica on the MRM team. So we're a very small team that handle this. And the beauty of this has been adapting. It must adapt to your needs or to our needs. Right when we started 2017 to what we have now, we've changed it, or we've added quite a lot of elements to the whole system. And that is, as we discuss every deep dive meeting, we find out, okay, maybe we need to know this, so then we add that element. So it has to be adapted to the needs. Otherwise, then if it's a static system, then you won't find the usefulness of the system. So it must be practical. And to each project, we might have different practical application of the system. We have, that's so much about what we've learned. Quickly, just last 2 slides I have. We have also replicated this within Swisscontact primarily, except one project outside. In Laos, we had the big sister project in Laos. Laos, we're using the e-MON system. Cambodia, we're using, even in a skills project, we're using skills development program. In the Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, this is outside Swisscontact. Swisscontact is part of the agroecology and safe food transition asset project. Again, that is where we don't use it to look at system changes. It's more used as the activities, the compilation of the activities, but then they love the e-MON because all the results, they can see the activity results in one place. Not the system changes, but just the aggregation of all the results. Indonesia Sustur, and I will go in a little bit. I also have Christine, I think she's also attending. Thank you, Christine, for attending this. We've used this to kind of orient that project, and I will, in the next slide, also show a testimonial from her. It's a Swisscontact project. It's a very powerful project based in Bali, and then works across Swisscontact, Indonesia on tourism development, sustainable tourism development. In Benin, we've used it in French, and we had to do, even though we didn't know the language, we had to do the training in French using we're using different applications. I think having someone translate, but I think the Benin team liked it. I think we have someone from Benin here as well. And Peru, in Swisscontact, we used it in a project called Construya, not maybe the full thing, but part of the e-MON. These are just some places that e-MON has been replicated in. And finally, I'll leave you with the testimonial from Christine. Essentially, you can read it, but we've been discussing, Erica here has been working very closely with Christine. Primarily what she says, she's the project manager of the Sustur project. What she found out was that the e-MON did prove, mainly for the adapting to the changes and operating in the environment, particularly now because of even COVID, they had to shift a lot of things, and the results being recorded in e-MON was something that she found it extremely helpful for that. So I think we're pretty happy. It's a tool. It's our experience. You might find it. You might have different needs, but this is just an experience that, with our experience that we have e-MON from Cambodia. With this also, I would like to take this opportunity, a shout out to to Navnita, Ella, and Jim for giving the opportunity, giving Swisscontact the opportunity to present our experience, to Manuela from head office for thinking of this and connecting us to Navnita and all, and for all of you taking your time to attend. So thanks a lot, and over to you, Navnita, for question and answer. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rajiv. And thanks also to you, Erica. Rajiv, for so frankly discussing all the learnings, in developing the system, and Erica also for this live demonstration. So I thought we could maybe take in some of the questions that have come in through the Q&A function, and also some which had been asked previously during registration. I think some of the questions have already been answered. I'll take a few of the open ones. Tunde, I think your one is also, you have a question on how easy is it to adapt e-MON for use in the public sector institution involved in MSMEs in Nigeria? What level of effort was required? I think Rajiv touched a bit on about how it has been replicated. Was there maybe anything in terms of how the adaptation took place? Did you just share the manual? Was that how it was replicated, or anything else?
No, thanks, Navnita. Well, actually, it's not, so maybe when I said what is e-MON, it's mainly for the project team. So I wouldn't say for the public sector institution. So it's basically e-MON is good for projects or NGOs, us that are implementing projects. So rather, it could be used in a public sector institution. We've not tried that actually, but we are actually, as you speak, you're right, thank you for that. We are maybe some version of e-MON will be trying with the public sector institution, so the data is collected. But as of now, e-MON is really for project implementation teams only, and not for public sector institution, or not even for that matter for the private sector institution. So it is. Maybe Erica.
Yeah, that from my point of view, because I think the first, the framework of e-MON is designed for project management and monitoring, right? So I would imagine you can use the same type of software setup, but you probably need to develop a whole new things for a public sector institution to monitor their activity. So I think that part is basically require it's like you build something from something completely new again. So I wouldn't say it's very easy. The other part is the capacity to maintain it and operate it, because if I understand, the public sector is very limited in technology, at least in the case for Cambodia. I'm not sure about Nigeria, but I think you also need to assess their capacity to operate and maintain the software. So I think that's the point. So in general, I wouldn't think it's really applicable in that case. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. There was another question which came in from Steve from ILO, and he has asked, how long did it take for the team to become fluent in using e-MON, and what were some of the issues in getting this off the ground? And this is something I think, Rajiv, you have also touched a bit on in your presentation, that it did take a while, perhaps.
Yes, it did. Steve, thanks. Before I answer, Steve, since it's Tunde, let me answer. Sorry about the PMIAP. Benin is wrong, and Benin is supposed to apologize that. We would. Probably the mapping was wrong. Extreme apologies for that. That's the third question. So coming back to Steve, it did. 2017, I think, because for me, I know Sadia, I see Sadia here, who's been very much a big part of the Prisma e-MON system, much bigger development. So that was the idea, and actually it came out from, even the original idea came from a Swisscontact project from Catalyst, where there was a need to kind of digitize the system. So when we presented in Cambodia to the Cambodia team, I think there was much resistance in saying, why do we need it? Right? We're happy with giving results. So the resistance, just to get over the resistance, I would say it took over 6 months to a year to say, let's start recording results. Why do we need to do that? So it was a little difficult until we went in the deep dive meetings. One of the so we started using that in review meetings. We said, until you have e-MON, we will not look at anything. Let's look at e-MON. Let's not open your other folders. And that took, I would say, another 6 months. So I would say 1.5 years to 2 years. But what I'd like to say, now the people are well versed. Now, for new members, it's okay, there's no option. They immediately go in the system, they know how the system is, so they know they have to get the interventions registered, and so all that is there. So once the team is versed, then it's quick. But in the initial, if you want, so I would say 1 year, 1.5 years, again, depending on the team's acceptability and yeah, we want to go. I hope I've answered your question, Steve.
Thanks for that, Rajiv. There was another question which had actually come up quite a bit on the registration. So I will also take on this question. Somebody asked, just to confirm, the total cost for the system is 3,000 development cost and 500 to 1,000 annual. Yeah, that's something which had actually come up a lot also in the registration. People were very keen on like finding out like how much did it cost. So Rajiv, if you can confirm that.
Yeah, I can, Erica may add, but I can say we were discussing this earlier. I mean, the 3,000 is maybe we're fortunate in Cambodia, I don't know. We have, there's a company called Excel Consulting that you saw, we showed. And there's a IT geek, very IT savvy person who knows Power Apps. So essentially they charge around $300 to $400 a day. So the day rate is not too low, but then it's very efficient. They do it in 10 days. The whole design they would do in complete 8 hours. So 80 hours is the time they took, or 80 hours is the time they took to develop that system. So yes, that was 3,000 initially. I mean, if you add other elements, it may go into 4,000, depending on how big you want the system. The system you see now is around 3,000. Now, the annual, yeah, and you're right. And the annual is when, as we said, now they're IT, a little, IT savvy people, they could even some we have within our system, within our team also, some of the low cost maintenance with a little bit coding skills, they do it. But a lot of times we need to adapt 1 or 2 other things. So that's around $500 to $1,000 annual. That's the budget we have, and we spend around that much. And this is correct, what you have. Erica, maybe you have a quick point on that.
Yeah, just to add, like I think the annual cost, like after for the maintenance, it depends on how much internal capacity you can handle some small changes as well. If you are fully relying on the consultant, it might also, if we will increase somehow. Yeah, so I think also, yeah, if any project want to develop this, like it also depends on what kind of the cost in your country for like, Power App or Microsoft experts, like companies that provide that kind of services. But in our case, that's the total, that's the total cost for that.
Thanks a lot for that, Erica. There are 2 questions also on like how do you record the qualitative data, and I think you touched a bit on that, Erica, because you showed like at least for the systemic change how you note down the observation. But like say for instance, even in the results chain, if you have any sort of like qualitative information coming in, how would you record that, or does the system?
Yes, so yeah, I think that's something in our project case we don't have that many, but I think it can be it actually can be simply added to the result recording table, which there could be a number and then there could be a qualitative like kind of a text format that you report. But the problem is the Power BI will not be able to aggregate or visualize qualitative results. So I think it will be more like for you or for the MRN team to consolidate by themselves if you want to analyze something.
Yeah. Yeah, the analysis you need to do, it records basically the information. Okay, we have I'm just reading the question. There is one coming in from Erwin, which asks, thank you, Erica and Rajiv, would Swisscontact build the capacity required to manage the system? If yes, what would it entail? The cost of like, so I guess that's again, like, I think you spoke a bit about like building staff's capacity and also like getting the license for them, right?
I think it's a question probably beyond me, but there's Manuel. I mean, that's something probably we could talk. Manuel, I'm sure, is here, who is looking at the overall MRM system. I know Alsa is here, also looking at the overall end-user system development. But that's something probably as partners, I mean, that's something definitely if we're partnering in something that, because it's not a product that we sell. So, but definitely as a partnership, there's definitely room to discuss Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
something-
I wasn't completely understand the question whether you are asking if Swisscontact provide that service, then that's
Oh, okay,
no.
that's a no.
But
Yeah.
if you are asking like how we build our own capacity, then yes, what we did is we did spend separately on Power BI training and Power App training, but it's not, we do it for the whole country office, which many projects benefit from it. So the cost, yes, then you can say there are a few more hundreds of costs that from our project that goes in there. But we did additional trainings for our staff.
Okay, maybe also related to that, Erica, one question that had also been asked during the registration came up a few times I saw was that, like, does e-MON require any advanced coding skills for someone to be able to operate it? And I think you probably like mentioned that, or you touched upon that a bit in your presentation. Maybe you can just clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are different level to build the system. Yes, it requires different coding and more advanced coding skills, and so that's why it is kind of provided by the IT experts to do that. So if you're asking us how does it require for maintaining managing the system by our project team, then we don't need much of the coding skills. We need something. It can be something simple for example, like I would say the level that's required is similar to how you operate an Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to connect from one sheet to the other, or from one cell to the other, you want to aggregate and so on. So I would say that level is the level that's needed. Yeah, so that's so for maintaining. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We have another question which just came in also from Christina Heffel from Unido, and the question is like, have you ever considered expanding the system to also tackle the data collection by using the app? Example, like, counting, I guess, the training participants who register through the app, and this is, I guess, to make it also easier and to ensure that you're not double counting participants who might be reached through different events or different interventions. Is that something you've thought about or want to expand into?
STP, did we do that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so we didn't in our project because we are not collecting individual farmer or learner. We're not doing that because I think it's most needed by like skills development project. But I think it is possible. It will require, the database will be much bigger, and you need like probably a whole new section to be able to collect using Power App to collect that information and analyze using Power BI to analyze it. But yeah, it's possible, but we didn't.
We have not. It's possible. Probably is the cost, and I'm pretty sure it's possible because it's solutions that.
Okay.
The two systems, through the API or whatever, it needs to talk to each other. So pretty sure it's possible, but we've not done it.
Yeah. Okay. There's another question which has come up also in the Q&A function, which was also asked during registration. So I was thinking of taking that. There's a question on like, how do you manage the data collection side of your needs? Because this is really the inputting the system and using it. Is that something also you've looked into? Or connecting it with something like a Kobo toolbox to collect information?
Yes, I think we have thought about that, but it will not go. We don't like. It might just connecting directly to Power BI, and which is possible, and I think a lot of projects doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
in a similar way.
Yeah. So.
But right now, our data collection will be, kind of separate. Right? You impact assessment or any data collection you do, and then the results are uploaded here. But absolutely, again, it's possible. It's just the cost again, connecting it. That's something we've not looked into yet.
Yeah. keeping a lookout on the time, I would take in just one final question, which had also like come in, which I thought was actually also a nice question to take. How did you, did you actually evaluate different platforms, and, what ultimately influenced your decision to choose this one over others?
Erica is here. She's the one behind this. So.
Yeah, yes, I think we did, like, we were considering if it makes sense to use maybe like build something from scratch, which can be completely customized, or we were considering Excel, then that directly we can log things and then directly link to Power BI. Yeah, it's a while ago. Yeah, I think not many, not like extensively looking at alternatives, because I think we see the opportunity of utilizing Microsoft applications, because those are already, a lot of them are free for Office 365 users. So that's how we decided to try with that, and it has been working fine.
Probably, yeah, it's 17. I also forget. I think one of the fortunate was, again, as I said, there's a Excel consulting, and the person was a Microsoft certified teacher, whatever, Microsoft certified person. So basically, we came in contact, and then when we started discussing, then the whole Power App, everything came in. So I don't think we had to extensively search other things when we started discussing. And this was we needed a very cheap option for us, so this came out as one of the most cheapest option.
Yeah,
because we looked at the price and
cost effective. Yeah,
we looked at the price, and then the Power BI, we say it's good, let's go with it. So that's
yeah. Okay, well, I think we have rounded up an hour. Thank you very much, Rajiv and Erica, for for your presentation, as well as like answering all these questions. And we will be sharing also a recording of this webinar with everybody who has registered in. Yeah, with that, I think like thank you everyone who have also attended and asked your questions. We really appreciate it. Rajiv, if people are there seems to be a lot of still interest in this. Is it possible for people to contact you perhaps?
Absolutely. Would be more than happy. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you've always been very generous with sharing information. So,
no problem at all. Yeah, it's a community we live in. So I think we need to share among each other. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, everyone. With that, I will like to close the webinar. Thanks everybody for participating. Thanks a lot, Rajiv.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.